Almost every single decade in the past century introduced an innovation to the mass market that arguably changed the world forever. In the 80s, that was the personal computer, in the 90s, it was the internet, in the 2000s, it was the World Wide Web, and in the 2010s, that was the smartphone. So that leaves you wondering, what is this decade's mass market revolution going to be? Has it already started? And of course, how can I take advantage of this opportunity? In this video, I'm going to show you not one, but 4 different areas I strongly believe are going to explode in demand this decade, all based on one core innovation. So if you want to be the next Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos or Larry Page, or if you simply want to be part of building the future, then this video is for you. To understand what's coming in the future, we first need to look into the past. You see, there is a pattern with most of the previous innovations. Let's see if you can pick it up.
Hello?
In the 90s, when the personal computer was popularized, 2 companies rose out of the competition. Apple with their Mac OS and Microsoft with their Windows OS dominated the personal computer market. The most prominent figures of that time were Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, who, along with many of their investors and early adopters, made a fortune by the end of the decade. The simplicity of these operating systems is one of the main reasons that led to the explosion in popularity of home computers, which in turn created a large demand for programs running on those devices. To satisfy this newfound demand, a new wave of software started being developed, which included Adobe's Photoshop, Microsoft Office, and even games like Doom. These programs quickly gained millions of followers and grew alongside this new market, making their founders, at the very worst, millionaires. While personal computers were making their way into everyday people's homes, a new technology was in the works that would fundamentally change how we interact with computers forever. In the early 2000s, the web, and most importantly Web 2, set the internet free by allowing for user-generated content, interactive websites, and online applications. This was, again, an entirely new market in its infancy. Young programmers and entrepreneurs were rushing to take advantage of the opportunity to change the world, and in the process, of course, make a fortune. It was then that websites like Facebook, YouTube, and Wikipedia were born. While the attention was on the web startups popping up by the thousands, another war was taking place in the background. You see, how people were accessing the web became increasingly important and valuable. Companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft, and Mozilla were fighting for a piece of the pie. It was clear as day that whoever made the browser people would use to navigate the web would stand to benefit immensely in the future. After the launch of the iPhone in 2007, the word smartphone gained a new meaning. This type of device started becoming more popular as it was entering the mass markets by the early 2010s, and the race was on again. iOS, Android, Windows Phone, BlackBerry OS, Symbian, and others were competing to become the main operating system of smartphones. Each with a different strategy tried to create the platform through which the smartphone ecosystem was going to evolve. iOS and Android, who very quickly dominated the market, became the breeding ground of new software startups, or apps as they were now being called. Creating a useful app or a fun game on smartphones in the mid-2010s was the newest and fastest way of making a fortune at the time. This of course didn't last long, as the market quickly became oversaturated. By now, you must begin to see the first pattern. Every decade, we have on the one side companies taking advantage of the latest technological innovation to create a platform, and on the other side, people using this platform to build and distribute their startups. Graphical operating systems in the 90s allowed for easily building software companies. Fast browsers in the 2000s allowed for distributing your web startup to a larger audience. Smartphone operating systems in the 2010s took the hassle out of making apps for an entirely new platform and profiting from it. If you zoom out for a minute, you might see an even clearer pattern which helps us predict what is about to come this decade. First, we have a breakthrough in hardware like the personal computer or the smartphone. Then, we have the simplification of the core software running on the hardware like Windows for PCs or Android for smartphones, which allows for the development of programs or apps on top of them. And finally, we have the connection to the cloud to offer even greater capabilities. So what's next? What is this decade's groundbreaking innovation? For the 2020s, things are evolving a bit differently than before. The process started, but in reverse order, because that was the fastest and most affordable way to develop this technology. I'm talking, of course, about AI. We are now at the stage where everything is running on the cloud. ChatGPT, Bard, Midjourney, and other advanced AIs have already changed the world we live in forever, but they are just getting started. Running them on the cloud is good and all, but the real goldmine exists in building local versions, apps or agents as they are probably going to be called, that can run directly on people's devices for a fraction of the cost. Building this type of agents and distributing them to the masses is certainly going to earn you a spot amongst other successful business people of this decade. Although we are not there yet, things are changing very quickly, so you should be ready to take advantage of this opportunity when it inevitably comes. I strongly believe that efficiently and effectively running these agents on local devices not only is going to require an AI optimized operating system, which is another thing you should be on the lookout for, but also dedicated hardware. I'm not talking about the speakers that are already out there like Amazon's Alexa and Google Home. Although they are going to be a big part of this revolution, I think that specialized hardware with AI at the core, having the capability to run a variety of AI agents, is the true hardware innovation of this decade. Companies like Rapid are already making waves in this space with the recent release of their R1 AI device and their Rapid OS. Out of the four, I think that the easiest area to focus on building your AI startup are AI agents. Like the apps on smartphones or programs on computers, agents on AI devices are going to make most of this decade's millionaires and billionaires. So if you want to be part of this technological revolution, start building now. Before you leave, I have one more thing for you. Arguably, the app stores developed for smartphones were one of the greatest innovations which helped developers more easily distribute and monetize their work. If you are the owner of the app store, that means that you get a sizable cut for everything that takes place through your store. It is my belief that a similar store for agents, an agent store, is going to be necessary for this new industry to flourish. So that is something you can consider building now, gain brand recognition and credibility so that when the time comes, your store will be the first choice in people's minds for downloading local agents. If you like content about AI in business and digital finance, subscribe for more. Thank you for watching. My name is Yorgos. I'll see you when I see you. Until then, stay hungry, stay foolish. Okay, bye.